What up, cucks? It's your boy, the hater, up in this one. And this video has been requested by many people, but specifically, it was requested by Rusty Shackleford, who donated to have me make this video. So thank you, Rusty, number one, for your kind donation. The hater loves money, so the hater greatly appreciates it. And two, thank you for giving me a suggestion to begin with, because it's difficult sometimes to come up with all these ideas, or to at least come up with the best ideas for these top 25 reason or whatever, 25 reasons something sucks videos, right? It's obviously easy to come up with ideas, but the idea here is, the point is to get good ideas, right? I can make 25 reasons why, I don't know, Lola Vice sucks, right? I mean, I'd have to go look at her matches, I don't know who she is, but I can make 25 reasons why Dawn West was good on commentary, but the idea is we need things that get people excited. So thank you, Rusty Shackleford. I appreciate that, fam. So let's get to it. His request was a very good one, as we've just established, and he basically just says 25 reasons why modern wrestling fans are cringe. So obviously, I took that, put it through the ringer, and we are coming up now with 25 reasons why, you can call them whatever you want, modern wrestling fans, the neckbeard demographic, as I call them, the fat fucks. There's a lot of reasons why. You can even call them AEW fans if you want, you know, because it's pretty much, the overlap is like 100%. But let's get to it. Reason number one, top 5 lists, right? Every time you meet one of these guys, they have to tell you their top 5. In my top 5, I have Chris Benoit. I have Bryan Danielson. We can't forget Zack Sabre Jr. They always put some marquee, like, old guy, you know, to just like pretty much tell you that they know about this guy. They'll be like, Bruno Sammartino, Harley Race. That's my top 5. But actually, no, because usually there's always a Japanese person there. So it'll be like Harley Race, who no one here has watched wrestle, right? Harley Race, and like Miyamoto Katsunagi, right? And it'll always be like the most obscure Japanese person. You Google them, and it's just like it's basically like a Japanese Karl Gotch, just a fat Japanese guy with like black underwear. You know what I mean? And they always compare their top 5 lists, and they kind of have this like air of superiority, even though, like, as we're gonna establish in this video, they have nothing to feel superior about. Reason number 2, they always go for the cultured opinion, right? This is an extension of reason number 1, but this converts to the modern day too, right? So like, they'll say things like, you know, for example, clearly Shawn Michaels is better than Marty Jannetty, right? But these fans, the modern fans, will be like, Marty Jannetty was the real star, right? It's that cultured opinion. You can look at my cultured opinion video for more details on that, right? But it's just like, if you're talking about who's the best soccer player of all time, you know, there's like maybe 5 people that are acceptable answers. Messi, Ronaldo, Zidane, original Ronaldo, and maybe like Cruyff. Everybody else is overrated. Like Pele is overrated, Maradona is overrated. But fine, you can put those in the category as well. But then you'll always have some cacksucker being like, I think Andres Iniesta is the best player of all time. And it's like, you know, he's great, but come on, like, we all know that's not true, you know? So they'll do the same thing, but with wrestling. They'll be like, Kobashi or Kobayashi, whatever. Not the current Kenta, but like the one that was before him. They both suck, right? They're like, oh, this guy's the best ever. As a matter of fact, you can go on the Wikipedia, and sometimes some nerd must come back there and be like, Kenta Kobayashi is widely considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. No, he isn't. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is not any Japanese wrestler that is widely considered the best wrestler of all time. Even Antonio Inoki is not widely considered to be the best wrestler of all time. Like, nobody in America, like nobody in the world of wrestling would ever suggest that Antonio Inoki is better than like Sting, Undertaker, The Rock, Stone Cold, Cena, Roman Reigns, Flair, Hogan. Nobody would ever say that, right? Like, they're not the same thing. But like, it's one thing to even say Antonio Inoki's that guy, but to go as far as to say that Kenta Kobayashi is, it's a bold-faced lie, right? It's ridiculous, motherfuckers. Anyways, reason number 3, they always pretend that indie wrestling is better than WWE, right? They always pretend that everything about the indies, right, is better than everything about WWE. You know, this kind of manifests itself in a variety of different ways, right? So you might hear something like, oh, this is real wrestling, right? Or even the chant, this is wrestling, like they know what it is, right? Then they'll overrate the products of indie wrestling. Be like, oh, Davey Richards is better than John Cena. No, he fucking isn't. Absolutely not. And like, if straight up, if you believe that Davey Richards or Eddie Edwards, I mean, look at their names, Eddie Edwards. If you believe that Eddie Edwards is better than like John Cena, you're either like a liar or you're incredibly stupid. There's no other explanation. Like, you just don't understand anything if you think that. It would be like me saying, like, you know, the guy who plays Ridge Forrester in Bold and the Beautiful is a better actor than Mel Gibson. Like, he isn't. Everybody knows he isn't, you know? But anyways, it is what it is, cucks. Reason number 4, they idolize dorks, right? Every hero of these people, all their heroes are complete dorks. Kenny Omega, Cucky Rhodes, Kazuchika Okada, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Oh, Kenny Omega dressed like Sephiroth. It was really cool. No, it wasn't. Keep that shit away. I'm a big Final Fantasy guy, right? In fact, as a matter of fact, if there was any other topic that I would do a channel on, it might be Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy, right? I like Pokemon. I like wrestling. I like a lot of things that are infantile, motherfucks. But I'm not going to sit here and say that just because I like them, they need to be crossbred, right? Which is what Kenny Omega will do. He'll be like, I like this, so I'm going to incorporate it into my entrance. Why? It has to fucking make sense. So all the people that they idolize are people like that. They're dorks. Reason number 5, the fans themselves are dorks. You know what I'm saying? Their idols are dorks, and ipso facto, they themselves are dorks as well. Reason number 6, I know everyone's been waiting for this one. They are usually fat and smell like they haven't washed their asses in months. You know what I'm saying? Now, I just remembered something. Brief pause here after reason 6. Reason 25 is by far the most important reason, and that's going to be like a little extra content, a little mini rant, if you will. So definitely stay tuned until the end of the video. It's going to be a good time. Reason number 7, they are possibly the most uncool fan base in all of fandom, right? There is no fan base less cool than wrestling. The only one that comes close is like UFC, right? Because something very similar has happened to the UFC, right? It's just a bunch of cringe, like fat dudes. There's, I'm sure, some overlap between UFC fans and WWE fans, right? But a lot of the people, they like UFC things that are lame and that are boring and that are cartoony, right? But like not purposefully so. Like, for example, if you go to like a UFC video of Khabib Nurmagomedov talking, like you see all these like random ass Americans and Europeans in the comments like talking like Khabib. Like they'll misspell words to emulate how Khabib, the immigrant, speaks, right? Like they think that's cool. They're like, I smash your face, brother. Oh, big time, brother. It's just like they'll go back and forth on this, right? And it's the same thing with wrestling fans. It's like one step away from like the fucking Yu-Gi-Oh fans, you know what I mean? But whatever, it is what it is. It's actually, I would say that Yu-Gi-Oh fans, there's a lot more normal people. I don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh. I never played that shit with the cards. But, Dark Magician, you know what I'm saying? But, the wrestling fans are like the worst, right? They're the least cool fan base in all of fandom. Reason number 8. This is a result of the fact that they never understood or were taught or got what being cool is. Like, they really think that being cool is like your average anime character, right? Like, they don't understand. Like, this is why the term edgelord is so great, because it's like there's people that are just edgy, you know, just in general, right? They're just edgy in life, right? There's people that are edgy, and there's people that are hacky, right? And there's a fine line between the two. Because if you're a little bit too edgy, or you're too much of a tryhard, you become a fucking hack, right? Hacky people manifest in many different ways. Like a hacky person is someone who, for example, will get out of the shower, and they have like slightly long hair, and they'll let their hair hang, and they'll take a selfie, right? Because they think that their hair hanging down makes them look cooler, right? That's something that's hacky. I think we can all relate to people like that, right? Wrestling fans, all of them, the new ones at least, the large majority of them are complete goofballs. They are completely hacky. Like, they really believe that anime story arcs are what to aspire to, right? You ever meet one of those anime guys who thinks that anime is just too deep for the average person, right? Well, maybe for the average person, I guess, but if you go to college and you stumble into a philosophy class, you're going to read about Descartes, Aristotle, Socrates, all these things that, like, if you compare that to, Evangelion, whatever the fuck it's called. Oh, I love Evangelion. Oh, that's so deep. Like, if you compare that to, like, what Descartes and Socrates wrote, or Plato, you'd be like, oh, like, this is fucking stupid, and Plato is, like, a genius, right? You'd think that, but people don't read anymore nowadays. Like, people are just very, very stupid. So, like, they think, they see something, like, that involves anime, and they're like, oh, this is so clever, it's brilliant, right? And it's like, no, it isn't. You're retarded. You know what I mean? And this group is really overrepresented in the modern day wrestling fan. I should note that they were not represented in the old school wrestling fan, which was a cool, jockey, like, you know, college age male, right? And also other people, females, younger people, older people. We're going to get to that too. Cuckolds. Reason number 9. The majority of modern wrestling fans are new fans who started watching around WrestleMania 37 or at the very, very earliest, that focal point, that shift, WrestleMania 29, right? This is when everything changed. Around WrestleMania 29, after that, everything went to shit, right? When Batista came back and people booed him because they wanted Daniel Bryan. That's when everything turned to shit. You understand me? Everything just went like downhill completely. It's because of these fans. We're going to get to that too. But most of them are people that are new to wrestling, so they don't fundamentally understand how wrestling works. And I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper here, because you can watch 2 episodes of wrestling and get it immediately. But unless you were there to experience the Attitude Era, and I don't mean like to see it on TV, because who gives a shit? You can watch it on the WWE Network or on Peacock, right? But unless you were there in the culture, right? Unless you were like, you had to have been at least like 10, right? At 10, maybe 11, 12, like either a teen or a preteen. And obviously the older the better. But if you were there during that time, you would see how important wrestling was to the actual culture, right? So nobody would think like, nobody would dare to say, like, if you were around the Attitude Era, nobody would ever dare to say that, like, CM Punk is edgy, right? Because, like, in the Attitude Era, he was about as edgy as S.A. Rios. You know what I'm saying? So things have changed completely. And this idea that he's, like, the next Stone Cold is absurd. Absolutely not, he's not. Until he throws someone off a bridge or beats the shit out of Alita with a chair, then he's nothing like Stone Cold. So, let's get to it. Reason number 10. Which we just alluded to and we just transitioned to. They do not like the Attitude Era for pussy-ass reasons, like women were subjugated and the in-ring product wasn't good. You know what I mean? Like, all this stupid shit. Like, they have these dumbass, like, 2024 ideals that they impose on the past, right? Yes, in the 90s, things were exciting. Women were sexy, right? Nowadays, most young women that I see, obviously there are exceptions, you know what I'm saying? But a lot of the young women that I see that are like in their 20s now, they're all a bunch of like these fucking gremlins. They're all like fat, they're out of shape, they don't take care of themselves, they have no sex appeal, they don't dress pretty, right? They all look like shit, which is why like the few good ones, the ones that look good, are on OnlyFans making like $10 million a month, right? Because the men are like, oh shit, where are the pretty girls, right? Well, back in the day, motherfuckers, they were everywhere. Nowadays, they're hard to find, right? So, as a result, women back then were also built different, right? Like, there was nothing wrong with a woman shaking her ass on TV in the 90s. Nowadays, this would be like, oh, wait a second. Where is the trans individual? We need them to shake their ass too to make sure that everyone is treated equally. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just wasn't the ethos and the culture back then, right? And the in-ring product also took that into account. Nobody cared about fake sports seriously. We looked at it as fake sports. We looked at it, we would watch Raw the same way you would watch Jerry Springer. And then you would discuss your wrestlers like they were superheroes or comic book characters. You wouldn't discuss them like, oh, did you see? Did you see the arm drag that Ospreay did? Oh, well, it was nothing compared to the arm, the Japanese arm drag that Zack Sabre Jr. did. Shut the fuck up, you know what I'm saying? Like, all these fans are dorks. Reason number 11. Wrestling is a sport. No, it isn't, fucks. It's not a sport at all, right? It's not, like, look, listen. And I made a video on this, so I'm not going to harp on it too long. Wrestling is not a sport. Wrestling is not anything other than a fake presentation. It is as real as a movie, right? The only difference, and this is a big difference, is that it's live, right? And as a result, you can kind of break that fourth wall sometimes, and you can also break that suspension of disbelief where you're like, oh, I'm seeing it in front of me. Like, if you see someone hit someone in the head with a chair, you're like, oh, okay, this tells a story, but I also got to see someone get hit in the head with a chair, right? That's what wrestling fundamentally is. Everything modern about wrestling has been going in a different direction. Like, people are like, oh, they're going to have a cinematic match. Yeah, those are all shit. None of them are good. Not the ones that the Hardys did in AEW, Not the ones that Matt Hardy did in TNA, in AEW. Not the stupid one with Bray Wyatt that he did, the Scooby-Doo match. Not the John Cena, Bray Wyatt. None of this is good. Not the Boneyard match. None of these things are good because none of them are wrestling, right? At that point, it's just a children's TV show. And I don't have time for that shit, motherfuckers. And I guarantee you, if someone showed me the Bray Wyatt, John Cena WrestleMania match during the Attitude Era when I was a child, I'd be like, this is the fucking lamest thing I've ever seen in my life. Holy shit, where's Val Venus? Let's see some actual wrestling, you know what I mean? So, this idea that wrestling is a sport is complete bullshit, and anyone that believes it, quite frankly, is stupid. It's not a sport because there's no competition. There is a meritocracy, right? Just like acting is not a sport, but there is a meritocracy. The better actor is going to draw more money, and the better actor is going to make movies that make them more money, and as a result, they're going to get more famous and make more money in other ways. That meritocracy exists, or it used to, but wrestling is not real in any capacity. It's not a real sport, as evidenced by the fact that people like CM Punk, who like are completely unathletic, can actually do it. You know, like the fact that wrestlers gas out in a WWE match is evidence to you that it's not a real sport. They're not doing anything, right? And here's how you know. Go look at CM Punk's UFC match. He gassed out in like a minute and 15 seconds. A minute and 15 seconds, he's done because it's a real sport. But in wrestling, even CM Punk, who is not an athlete, can do a 35-minute match, right? Because you can take rest breaks. Not only is it not a sport, but it's not even athletic. It's not athletic. I don't care what you say. Like Daniel Bryan is not an athlete because he can like grab someone's leg and pretend he's doing a move. That's fucking stupid. Now, of course, there are athletes in wrestling. Like nobody would say that AJ Styles, Logan Paul, fucking Matt Riddle, like these guys are not athletic. Like they're definitely athletic. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good athletes in wrestling, but there's also a lot of fat jobbers like Kevin Owens. Like Kevin Owens could never play a sport. Are you kidding me? Anyways, I don't want to ramble on about this point, but it was a personal favorite. But we still got a lot to go through here because we got to do our little mini rant in the end. Cucks. Where were we? Reason 12. The fans are very emotional, as evidenced by multiple instances of the fans overreacting. Now, the manifestation of these overreactions varies significantly, right? Sometimes it's fans crying. Sometimes it's people, being more shocked than they should be, right? Like, I'll give you an example. Like that fan that when Undertaker lost to Brock Lesnar, that fan, that famous reaction, the black guy, like the fat black guy, and it's a very good reaction, but like I had the same reaction for 1 second. Then I'm like, oh, sweet, they decided to end the streak. Let's see where this goes, right? Because it's a fucking TV show, right? The same way that when Liam Neeson saves his daughter in the end, I'm not like, oh, thank God he was able to make it through. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I watch it like you're supposed to watch TV. And as a matter of fact, I have a personal issue with the amount of men that cry, and I'm gonna make another video on that later, but I might even release that video today too. Who the fuck cares? Who the fuck knows, motherfuckers? Reason number 13. The fan base, this is a very important reason. The fan base no longer resembles America, but resembles a brony convention, or a Yu-Gi-Oh card convention, or a Magic the Gathering convention, or hell, I'll be honest, any video game convention, and the hater's a big gamer, but the gamers as a category, not a very flattering category to be part of. So with all that being said, back in the day, wrestling, the beauty of wrestling was that it was a unifier, right? Like you could talk to people. Like there's very few things that I've experienced in my life that have been bigger unifiers than wrestling, which I guess sports are sometimes like that, but sports also divide because it's like, oh, I like the Browns, oh, you like the Bengals, whatever, So, but wrestling is a big unifier, and video games kind of, except not really. And then the next biggest unifier is going to be like fucking support groups and shit like that. I would put it right up there with like AA and shit, you know what I'm saying? Because if you've ever been to an AA meeting, you know what I'm saying, you'll see that you got all sorts of people there, motherfuckers. Rich, poor, black, white, doesn't matter. But everyone is basically friends. Right? Everyone's like, oh shit, like we're in this together, you know what I mean? And wrestling was like that, right? Everyone could talk about it. Women, men, black people talking to white people talking to Chinese people talking to Indians talking to Japanese, Latinos were in there somewhere, you know what I mean? Everyone was part of the conversation. Now, it's basically, I mean, there's a lot, like racially speaking, everyone's there, because every race has its own neckbeards. Although you don't really see that many, like, Latino neckbeards. That's interesting, right? There's obviously a lot of white neckbeards, a lot of black neckbeards, and a lot of Asian neckbeards as well. But not that many Hispanic neckbeards. I wonder why. We'll have to look into that. But the point is, the fan base no longer resembles America. There's no women. There's nobody who's too young or too old. It's just a bunch of fat 20-year-olds, you know what I'm saying, to 25-year-olds. Reason 14. More than ever, they demand that their voices are heard and they are catered to. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a zealous fan or an overzealous fan, as long as you don't expect your voice to carry any weight, right? Here's the way the world works, right? I'll give you an example. Final Fantasy 16 came out. I beat it in like a couple of days, right? I played it 5 hours a day during the first weekend it came out. And then periodically I'd play it until I beat it in a couple of days or a couple of weeks maybe, right? I didn't really enjoy Final Fantasy 16. Not really my cup of tea. I thought it was too easy, whatever, right? Now, I know that there's people in Japan that work really hard to make this game, right? And while I have personal criticisms, right, I don't suppose to have any input on how they make the next game, right? I didn't go to school or have any experience designing video games and things of that nature. So why should I tell them how to do their job, right? Same thing here, except nowadays, the neckbeard demographic does feel this way because they're man-children, which should have been its own reason, but it ain't, motherfucks. Maybe I'll integrate it with another reason. Reason 15. They have stupid and smarky chants, right? First of all, like, some of them are okay, like, this is awesome. Okay, that's a good one, right? But I really believe that this whole circle jerk started at Survivor Series in Madison Square Garden, the one where the main event was The Awesome Truth versus Rock and Cena, right? I actually went to that. I was in law school at the time, so Madison Square Garden was pretty close. So I should have probably taken like the subway, but I actually ended up driving. So I drove to Madison Square Garden, parked my ass there, went and watched Survivor Series. Now, I enjoyed myself very much, but I noticed that during this event, the smarky-ass New York crowd, they kept chanting things like, I think Big Show went for a top rope elbow, or was it Mark Henry? One of them went for a top rope elbow, and people started chanting, Randy Savage, and the guy that actually started the chant was pretty close to me, right? I could probably pick him out of a lineup. And now that chant is like a thing. Like, people do that all the time now. Like, Randy Savage! Like, it's like, Randy Savage is dead, motherfuckers. I mean, perhaps back then he was alive, but, you know, he's dead now. Like, why are you chanting his name? It's fucking weird. Number one. Two, like, when Michelle McCool comes out, people start chanting, Undertaker! Right? Like, why are you chanting that? Oh, well, I know that she's married to the Undertaker. Yeah, I know you're a fat bastard, but you don't see me chanting, you're a fat bastard! Right? You don't see me doing that, motherfuckers. So the way it works is like this. The smarky chants and the smarkiness of the smark neckbeard demographic isn't to show you that they like wrestling. They are more concerned with trying to one-up you in the knowledge of wrestling, right? This is a form of overcompensation. The idea is this. There are people that I know from middle school that watched wrestling back then. A lot of them watched wrestling back then, right? Then there are people that started watching wrestling today. The people that I know that watched wrestling back in the day don't care as much, right? And never really cared as much. Like, if you ask someone back in the day, hey, what's Al Snow's finisher? Right? They'd be like, I don't know. It's that move he does. It's like a scoop slam. He picks the guy up, drops him on his head. And then someone in the corner would be like, it's called the snowplow, right? Now, every fan is, it's called the snowplow. But they like know the history of everything, right? This is because they've watched wrestling for 3 weeks. And now they're like, oh, shit. They fell in love with it. So they've like studied all the moves, right? So a lot of that can be explained by this, you know? And that's when we have these smarky chants, right? When Michelle McCool comes out, the fans have no reaction because they don't know anything about Michelle McCool. They never saw her wrestle. Because she didn't wrestle until, like, you know, like, I think she retired before WrestleMania 29. You know what I'm saying? So the idea is, like, they don't know anything about her, but they do know, they didn't read on Wikipedia that she's married to The Undertaker. And they want to show off that they read Wikipedia, basically. That's what the wrestling fan today is, motherfucks. This is going to lead us well into the next two reasons. Reason 16. They are largely socially maladjusted. They're just not smart, right? That's reason 16 is they're largely socially maladjusted. And reason 17, they're not very smart. We're going to talk about them compound, right? Like, these are a bunch of people that probably live with their parents. They're obviously not very intelligent. But I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of them think they're too smart, right? They're these kind of people that, like, they were too smart to study in high school, so that's why they got, like, a 2.0. And I'm not knocking anyone that has a 2.0. I know school's hard, motherfuckers. The hater's been through a lot of school. But, like, they're like, oh, I only got a 2.0 in high school because I'm smarter than the teacher and I refuse to listen, right? When in reality, it's just like, you're not that smart, right? Then they went to community college because they couldn't get into college. Again, not knocking it. A lot of my friends went to community college. A lot of them are doing very well, cucks. So, they went to community college and they're like, oh, I'm going to drop out after a semester. The teacher's not smart enough for me. Well, who the fuck is smart enough for you, right? That's the problem with these fat-ass smart neckbeards. They watch, like, Death Note, and they're like, I misunderstood, like, the main character in Death Note. He, too, was a genius. Yeah, he also got, like, straight A's. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, oh, I misunderstood. I'm too smart for this. Only anime is at my level. Physics? Oh, I don't need to know physics. I watch Rick and Morty. Like, that's the kind of people we're dealing with here, motherfuckers. Reason number 18. They are fickle and move from wrestler to wrestler, right? So every Nakamura fan is no longer a Nakamura fan, right? How come that before Hideo Itami became Hideo Itami, you would hear a lot of rumblings about Kenta, right? How come before Nakamura came to WWE, you would hear a lot of rumblings about Nakamura? But now that they're here, nobody gives a shit anymore, right? Well, hold on a second. If Nakamura is the best wrestler in the world, if he was the best wrestler in the world 5 years ago, what happened that he's not in your top 5 anymore, right? What happened is they're fickle fucks. It's simple as that. Like Dave Meltzer says, Will Ospreay's the best. They're like, Will Ospreay's the best, right? Eventually, Dave Meltzer's gonna get another guy that pays him, under the table to put him over or whatever the fuck happens, and that's how it's gonna go down, motherfucks. Reason number 19. They have no self-reflection about themselves being wrong ever, right? They're wrong all the time, but never accept that they're wrong. Reason number 20. They always want everyone to agree with them. You ever get into a debate with a smark, right? They're always there trying to convince you to agree with them, to get you on their side. Like, I'll never forget, one time I was talking to this guy, we'll call him Jorgen. This dude Jorgen, right? He was telling me how, like, according to him, the Young Bucks are the best tag team. And I was like, I don't think so, man. I don't even think they're the best tag team in AEW. I really like Penta Zero Miedo and fucking Rey Fenix, right? And he's like, what? No. Bro, you have to admit you're wrong. And I'm like, fuck yourself, you know what I'm saying? Reason number 21, they enjoy anime and they want wrestling to mirror anime, right? Like, you always hear this all the time. They're like, oh, this is like an anime arc. And I'm saying, oh, it's Avengers Endgame, which I know is not anime, but it's like it's on the same level. And that's another thing, by the way. If you watch, like, Avengers and you watch, like, Marvel movies and you make fun of people that watch anime, it's the fucking same shit, motherfuckers. It's the same shit. Pew, pew, pew! Iron Man. Oh, I lifted Thor lifted the hammer. Oh, the Zenigami kills you when you write the name in the Death Note. Shut up. You know what I'm saying? The only anime that matters, motherfuckers, is Pokemon up in this bitch. Reason 22. They are largely responsible for the state of wrestling today. Now, I cannot like put this all on them because a lot of this also falls on WWE, right? Because they don't have to listen, but they do. So there you have it. Reason 23. They are obsessed with Japan. And reason 24, they are not like wrestlers. They do not like wrestlers, I should say, that draw money. This brings us to reason 25, my personal favorite, and a mini rant. Now, this video is running really long because I've been yapping on. I did not plan for this. I planned for this video to be like 10, 15 minutes, but here we are, cucks. That's how you know the hater's authentic. I don't go around thinking to myself, this video has to be this long. Like, shut up. I click record, and I start talking, cucksuckies. So, reason 25, this. Vince McMahon is out of touch. All right, here's the thing. The amount of arrogance required to make this statement is unprecedented and unparalleled, right? Imagine this, motherfucks. Imagine if, you started watching movies 3 years ago, right? And then you went around and said, like, Godfather isn't a good movie. Oh, I don't like Godfather. Why isn't My Little Brony, like, 3, why isn't that like, winning Oscars, right? Imagine if someone did that, right? You'd just laugh at them. You'd be like, you don't understand anything about movies, dog. Now, with wrestling, it's even worse, right? Because whereas movies have no originator, right? Like Francis Ford Coppola, who directed Godfather, is not like any different than, let's say, Scorsese or fucking Spielberg or anything like that, right? He ain't anything special. But Vince McMahon is, motherfucks. Vince McMahon invented wrestling, all right? The wrestling that we see today was invented by Vince McMahon. So this is I guess a better example would be if you learned yesterday what a bicycle is, right? And you're like, this thing ain't shit. It's a horrible idea, And then you present something like, I have this other idea, it's better, and it's like a pogo stick. And people are like, it's not better, dummy. And you're like, yeah, it is, it's better. Pogo sticks are better, right? So that's kind of like the immaturity of these people. Without Vince McMahon, there is no wrestling. Vince McMahon was never out of touch. What happened was the fan base went from being cool to being nerds. And then being in touch, according to these fat bastards, was, Vince McMahon didn't read the most recent issue of Shohei Jump or whatever the fuck it's called. Vince McMahon, he doesn't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh! He's out of touch. Like that's the problem. The problem became that being in touch meant being a nerd, and Vince McMahon is not a nerd, motherfucks. So, with all that being said, this has been one of my personal favorite videos. Thanks again to Rusty Shackleford for suggesting it, and toodaloo, cocksuckers. The haters just built different. I can go 31 minutes and 36 seconds and going. I can dance all night long. Hashtag built different, cucks.